let's move on.
Are you going to be okay putting a nose tackle as an S tier?
We shall see. Who you thinking?
I think we should hit Haloti and Vince because I think these are the two premier nose tackles for our generation.
Yeah. So let's talk about Haloti Ngata. Haloti Ngata, 1 Super Bowl, 2-time first team All Pro, 3-time second team. He has 5 Pro Bowls. That's it. That's all Haloti Ngata has, which is absolutely insane because the impact that he had was absolutely ridiculous, bro. 32 and a half sacks, 7 forced fumbles. You look at the stats, it's like, he didn't do much. But I'm telling you right now, you look back at those Baltimore teams, and he was a force. He was one of the guys. I would argue, he was the big 3. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Haloti Ngata. All 3 levels.
I put T Sizzle in there, but
I did forget about T Sizzle.
But I would say this though. I would say this. Nada's job was the least thankful, least glamorous. It was literally be a big pain. Why did they have the best run defense every year he was there? It seemed like, right?
Yeah.
And same thing with Vince Wilfork. These guys will never do anything close to get stats. It's like playing lineman. It's like the biggest stat is like no stat in a sense. Like, how many big games did Haloti Ngata have in the playoffs won? Probably not that many. But what was his impact? Especially against, look at the Super Bowl against the Niners. He was so big in that game. He just destroyed the interior line. He just was immovable his whole career with the Ravens. And how do you quantify that into an S tier, A tier? Because in my heart, I know he was an S tier for what he was asked to do. Now, would I take Warren Sapp over him? Yeah, I would. Because Warren Sapp was just more disruptive. Because I don't think Haloti Ngata could necessarily be disruptive like a Warren Sapp. But for what he was asked to do in the system, like, if I'm like, hey, we're playing a 3-4, who's a nose guard? You're like, damn, Haloti Ngata.
Yeah.
Vince Wilfork.
Yeah.
So this is where it gets really tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky. But look, I think the perfect title for this video would probably be Unsung Heroes, because we're going to talk about multiple of these guys of, like you said, doesn't get all the shine, doesn't get all the accolades, doesn't get all the stats. It was just
it's
like, hey,
a good corner. It's like a good corner.
Yeah, yeah. But in a sense, if you had to say something negative, it was just that they were a one-trick pony. I think that's where it came into play. The guys like Aaron Donald, the guys like Warren Sapp, what made them so special is that they can do both. It was like, hey, I can do what Haloti Ngata is doing, and I can do what a Lawrence Taylor, a Reggie White can do, which is rush the passer. Does that make them any different? No. But when you're talking about tiers, Max, I think it's only right to say that I don't see Haloti as a S tier guy. I definitely see him as an A tier guy. I feel like a lot of these defensive tackles that eat up space, nose tackles, zeros, they're all A guys because they did their job to the best of their abilities. It was just, in a sense, Haloti was one of those guys that can stay on the field on third down sometimes, but for the most part, he was a 2-down player for the most part.
I would agree. You know, it's tough because in my heart, like, they're so valuable. You know, it's so valuable to have a guy like this. And the only thing I would say is I wouldn't necessarily say Aaron Donald could do a Haloti Ngata's job. But the thing is, I would have more faith in Aaron Donald being like Haloti Ngata than I would Haloti Ngata being like Donald, right?
100%.
That's where I'd agree with you with A. Going to Wilfork, I think a lot of it is the same. Again, Vince Wilfork is just like criminally underrated. You know, I feel like he kind of caught on late. Like, remember when he started getting like interceptions? Then it was like, oh, he's a big guy, he's funny.
Yeah,
dude, he was a part of like 4 Super Bowl teams, and he was such a giant part of their defense, like unblockable. They always had good linebackers. And some of them we know were scheme. Jamie Collins won. Was he really that good, or was it kind of like, damn, you're playing behind a stacked defensive front? And Vince Wilfork, again, 2 Super Bowls, 5 All-Pros, 5 Pro Bowls. I'd happily put him in A because I think he was such a pain in the ass to deal with for a lot of teams. And I would say this, one thing about these 2 guys specifically, it made you play one-dimensional almost, that they were that good where they could shut down the run game. It
Yes.
was that special.
Yeah. They were double team eaters. They're unsung heroes, man. The stats are never going to say the impact of these guys. And I would say this, honestly, me and Max are probably going to miss some guys who were like this in the 80s and the 90s because we weren't watching football as close. For the most part, me and Max are going to get the 2000 and the 2010 guys. But this has been going on in football. These guys are unsung heroes. They don't get the sacks, they don't get a crazy amount of tackles. They let everyone else eat. They're just offensive lineman eaters, double team eaters. That's it. That's their job. And some of these guys were the all-time greats of doing it. And Vince Wilfork, just like um just like Haloti Ngata, one of the best to freaking do it, man. One of the best.
And people, just to add one more point, people started looking for these guys. Like the Eagles drafted Jordan Davis a few years ago. If these two guys aren't what they were, like nobody's after these guys, right? It's like, why even have them? But they still matter. You know, think about the great Niners defense. They had Isaac Supwanga. These guys matter, and they're never going to get the credit.
Yeah.
Big dreams.